It is the biggest mistake of Joe Biden's career, what he has just done, going to Ukraine instead of going to visit the people of East Palestine, Ohio. I'm sorry, but this is a guy that is also, he is no substance. That's the way he's always been. And why should we ever expect anything more? Consider his dramatic exit out of Afghanistan, which was absolutely deadly, absolutely awful, poorly planned, but he demanded it. And for some reason, he also demanded to go to Ukraine rather than bother with the environmental disaster going on right here at home. I mean, he wouldn't even send Pete, right? He wouldn't even send his Secretary of Transportation, not until now. Not until now. And everyone's got an excuse for that, right? Here's Pete's.
In retrospect, should you have come a little sooner?
So again, in terms of the timing of the visit, I'm trying to strike the right balance, allowing NTSB to play its role, but making sure we're here in that show of support.
Leave it to the Democrats to have tons of bureaucracy to get in the way of actually helping people. Here is the White House spin on it.
The mayor of East Palestine said that it was a slap in the face that the president had gone to Ukraine before he went to East Palestine. Does the president have any reaction to those comments?
I laid out what we have done since the derailment of February 3rd, and how we were on the ground very early on at a all of government, all hands approach to this, not just with the agencies, but also with the different teams here in the White House. You think about the intergovernmental affairs, you think about Office of Leg Affairs, and also the National Security Council.
And this affairs and that affairs, again, standard leftist nonsense. They get everybody and their cousin involved, and everybody's got a cousin that's somehow involved and somehow getting a payout from wherever they can find it. Of course, wait a second. In this particular case, they don't actually want to have to pay for anything, right? FEMA's not supposed to be involved in this one. They want to pin it all on the company, which may or may not have something to do with it being a red state. More on that in just a moment, but keep in mind, this is a president who's all about spending money where he wants to spend it. Right now, that's Ukraine. Welcome to the Trish Regan Show. I am Trish. We are sponsored in part today by Legacy Precious Metals. If you want to buy gold or if you want to buy silver, you need to head over to legacypminvestments.com for your free investing guide. I'm going to have more on the markets in just a moment, including a look at the newest prediction, which is for a 24% decline in the S&P this year. Oh, that's just great, from Morgan Stanley Analyst. But before we get to that, back to East Palestine, Ohio, there, where the president just hasn't bothered to go. And when he does send somebody to go, that somebody can't seem to even string a sentence together. Watch Mayor Pete.
Both information and misinformation injected into this situation, none of which is to the benefit of the community when it comes to that misinformation. So I lost my train of thought.
I don't know. I mean, is it like in the water? Is there something in the water at the White House that is causing people like Joe Biden or Pete Buttigieg to just constantly lose their trains of thought? You know what's disturbing? I mean, it's like the Biden brain fog on steroids. What's disturbing is that Pete Buttigieg is trying to position this all now as misinformation. Misinformation when, again, he didn't have the decency to show up there until 20 days later, and the president still hasn't bothered. It's just misinformation. It's misinformation when people are actually worried because they want to know if the water is safe to drink, and they're just supposed to trust the EPA's advice on that one. It's not like the government has a good track record. People are worried, as they should be. Vinyl chloride is a big deal, bad chemical. Oh, but don't worry, says the EPA. Everything is fine. I'd let my kids drink it. Yeah, Michael Regan, no relation, EPA chief. He actually went, finally, later last week to Ohio, and he drank the water and said, look, no problem. Trust us. Well, not everyone trusts him. In fact, CNN reported that they had spoken to people, including to a woman who complained of her skin burning every time she took a shower, said she had massive headaches and nausea, and doesn't understand why the EPA doesn't quite get that it might be a little bit more of a big deal. Here is Michael Regan's response. Watch.
I think that they have a lot of trauma in that community, and people are experiencing a lot of things. What I can say is the water that has been tested and the air that has been tested is coming back with no adverse health impact levels.
So there you have it. It's all in your head. So go seek some help. Because we said it's fine, therefore it should be, right? Look, guys, America's watching. America has very little faith in what our president is doing right now, certainly over there in Ukraine. Just look at the poll numbers. Support is waning. I mean, especially when you look at how much money is going into the thing. And then you think about, well, we won't get into his son's big deal job on that energy company, the nat gas company, when he knew nothing about the industry. Remember that board job that was paying like $600,000 a year? The new amount of money, because this is brand new. We just heard a new pledge today from the Treasury Department. I have the details on that. But before we do, some worry right now that red states like Ohio or red states like Texas are being forced to carry unnecessary burdens. I mean, the administration wants to pin all of this on Norfolk Southern. We know that, right? They're saying, okay, we're going to hold you accountable. Nothing wrong with that. They should hold them accountable. But what about the rails themselves? What about the rails that were supposed to be improved because Joe Biden got through a $1 billion+ infrastructure plan? Whatever happened to any plans to improve on this stuff? Meanwhile, shouldn't we see some FEMA assistance? I mean, shouldn't there be some federal help? Because you're going to be waiting a while to get everything you need from the company. And yet, no can do, says the administration. Well, why is that? Because it's a red state? Would you give the money, say, Mr. Biden, to New York or California? Of course you would. Of course you would, in a heartbeat, right? You couldn't wait to sign that check. Well, the news gets worse today because we learned that toxic waste water that was used to extinguish a fire following that train derailment in Ohio is now heading to a Houston suburb in Texas for disposal. Why Houston? I mean, why Texas? You got to wonder. It's Harris County in Texas. They're going to get the stuff. Apparently, there's a processing facility there that can manage it. I'll tell you, people in Texas aren't happy. I mean, they get no help on the border. And now they get this. Harris County Judge Lena Elgato, she broke the news on Twitter today after saying her office had gotten the word and was rightly concerned. And then the local media followed up. And the company that's going to get the business is like, oh, yeah, we can handle it. AP did a story. Anyway, people in Texas are like, wait a second. Like, really? They start to feel like maybe they're getting the shaft because they don't think the way this administration does. Anyway, bad air. It makes me even happier that I have my EnviroKlenz air purifier right now. How is that for a segue? Right? You got to kind of admire it. This is actually, I actually really, really like this. And they sent me this and I tried it out and I'm kind of into pure air. And I have allergies, so I want to always make sure that I have the purest air in my home. I don't live in Texas and I don't live in Ohio, but this thing is pretty darn cool. And it's so cool that it's actually used by the military. It's used on naval ships, which I just think is awesome because not every home air purifier is exactly the same. You need a good one if you're like me and you care and you have allergies. Well, this one is used by the U.S. Department of Defense on naval ships. It's called EnviroKlenz, and it protects and purifies the air on board our naval ships. It's an advanced mineral technology. It goes beyond ordinary HEPA filters. It destroys airborne illnesses that would otherwise cause cold and flu viruses, including COVID, which is kind of amazing. Anyway, EnviroKlenz is the new science, they say, in air purification, and now you can order one from home, and this is how you could best stop your colds and flu from taking down your whole family this season. This is how you destroy all those allergy-inflaming toxins and mold from the air that your family breathes. That's important to me. It's hospital-grade technology, and it's so powerful that it promises far fewer colds and allergies and better sleep. So go to EK Pure. Go to ekpure.com. Use code TRISH, my name, for 10% off your EnviroKlenz home purification unit. You can also receive with this deal a free air quality monitor plus fast, free shipping. So this is like $150 in savings, well worth it. If you use my code, go to ekpure.com, code Trish, ekpure.com, code Trish. All right, back to the news here. Ohio, certainly a mess right now, but Joe Biden doesn't care. No, the southern border is a mess, but Joe Biden doesn't care. He hasn't cared. All that matters apparently right now is Ukraine. Listen to this. The Treasury Department is out with a new pledge. I want you to hear this.
In the coming months, we expect to provide around $10 billion in additional economic support for Ukraine.
$10 billion. That's what they're talking about. It's a lot of money. I mean, these fools, and I say fools because all the handwriting was on the wall and they just didn't want to believe it, I guess. They just figured it was easier to keep printing. But they printed so much money, and they're going to continue to do this so that they can finance this effort with Ukraine. We have so much debt right now. It's called hyperinflation. And just to keep it in perspective here, Congress appropriated $113 billion last year for Ukraine. $113 billion, okay? Janet says 10 billion more is coming, and we know that Joe Biden personally delivered a $500 million check over the weekend. So 113 billion is a lot, plus all that we're giving now. It's actually nearly as much as the $146 billion that Congress appropriated over 20 years in Afghanistan. If you look at all the numbers right now, Wall Street Journal is saying total, we've spent about $200+ million. In 20 years total in Afghanistan, we spent about $300 billion. So 200 billion versus 300 billion. It's massive. I mean, in such a short amount of time, it's like the money printing. It's like they're increasing the money supply the way they did. And this stuff comes with massive economic implications. You're seeing this right now in the markets. It's one of the reasons we've had such a volatile week. This is not just about interest rates. This is about something bigger. One very reputable analyst out of Morgan Stanley is now predicting a 24% drop in the stock market, in the S&P this year. 24%. This is why I always stress diversification. I mean, make sure you're diversified. I've talked about treasuries, of course. I've talked about savings bonds, right? The treasury savings bonds, which last year were paying over 9%. This year we're paying more than 6%. And often some of these treasuries have really good tax incentives for being in the municipals as well. Anyway, I stress that diversification, which is also something one of our advertisers stresses and believes in as well, because they love gold and silver. I'm talking about legacy precious metals. You can call them at 1-866-589-0560 if you want to learn more about investing in gold or silver. Again, it's 1-866-589-0560. They're very patient. They'll talk to you. You're welcome to use my name. Investments, keep in mind, they go up, they go down, including gold and silver. Nothing is guaranteed, but in my own personal life, I like having gold as one way to help hedge some of the volatility that I would anticipate is going to continue as we move forward here. Hopefully, inflation will not be crazy for long, but I'm not feeling very good about things. Not when we got $31 billion worth, trillion. How am I getting my billions and millions and trillions mixed up? $31 trillion in debt. But that's why diversification is so critical. Get your free investing guide at legacypminvestments.com today. All this talk of World War III. Why? Why now? News now that we are quadrupling troops in Taiwan. It comes as our U.S. Navy warns that China's naval fleet is growing and that the U.S. cannot keep up with its warship buildup as Beijing uses its power to project an increasingly aggressive military posture globally anyway. Apparently, here's the tally. We have 280 ships. They have 340 ships. Are we heading towards war? I mean, if we are, this is not good. Our naval ships apparently are not going to be able to match the output of these Chinese ships. We've got problems. And yet somehow the answer is to just send wads of cash to Ukraine. Not exactly a place known for being on the up and up, right? I mean, I think if anything, it's probably got one of the highest corruption levels out there. And so the reality is we can't afford this. We can't afford to have our money taken. We got to get some bang for our buck here. I mean, the idea that this is still going on, you keep telling me that the Russians are doing so badly, then why are we still in this? Really? I'm very concerned. I don't have a whole lot of use for AI. As you know, it's extremely biased. And this GPT chat has shown some of that bias as I've experimented with it. But I did get a kick out of this because I tapped in sort of the reasons why, a country might be dealing with mass inflation. And I want to share with you the answer I got back, because I've been criticized by some of the big social media companies for being too worked up about inflation. But here it is. Quote, the most inflationary times in world history have been characterized by periods of rapid economic growth, significant increases in the money supply, and government policies that have led to high levels of government spending and borrowing. These periods of inflation have had a profound impact on the economies and the people of affected countries. Hyperinflation has led to the destruction of savings and purchasing power, political instability, and widespread poverty and famine. Whoa. All right. So it goes on. It gets worse. I'm not going to scare you too much, but you get the picture, right? This is not good. This is not good. Our spending is out of control, and there's no incentive to do anything about it. Why? I mean, why would they tell us it was transitory? But I guess you could also say, why would they tell us for so long that inflation was transitory and that, that the water in Ohio is just fine to drink, and that really there is no border problem? It's a prejudice problem. Look, on the economic and on the social level, I'll tell you, the left is failing us. They are failing this country badly. And perhaps it will catch up to them at some point when we vote them out of office. But we just have to hope it does not destroy the nation in the interim. It's one of the reasons why I'm nominating Fluffy for president in 2024. This little dog is smarter than Biden. He's certainly cuter than Biden. He's younger. Well, most everybody is, right? And he's surely healthier. And that's because he takes a supplement called Rough Greens. Just a spoonful, and I sprinkle onto his dinner every single night. He was never like that much of an eater until now. He absolutely loves his dinner like you wouldn't believe. And it is thanks to Rough Greens. This is a supplement that was created by Dr. Dennis Black, a naturopathic doctor who loves dogs. He's got two big ones, actually. I just have this little guy, my little one. But this supplement, this is what is so great about it. It comes for all dogs in all sizes. It doesn't matter if you got a small dog, a medium dog, a big dog. Dr. Black has said, you know what, all that pet food, mostly from China, by the way, that's out there on store shelves, none of this is healthy. And so he was determined to come up with something better that, maybe if you need to buy that stuff, because I get it, pet food's expensive. If you need to buy that, maybe just add this on to ensure that your dog comes away with the right mix of enzymes, probiotics, vitamins, all the things that he or she needs to have a healthy life. I can tell you, Fluffy is much fluffier now. He's getting ready for his presidential campaign. He's more energetic. His allergies are, knock on wood, basically gone. So if you're a dog owner, I want you to check it out. I mean this. It has made a difference. I think it'll make a difference for your dog. Go to roughgreens.com/Trish today for your free Jumpstart trial bag. It's from Dr. Black and his dogs. Again, roughgreens.com/Trish. And by the way, you get it. It's spelled RUFF. Anyway, we've got much, much more to talk about. I'm so glad to have you all here. Do me the favor of going and subscribing to the show on Apple Podcasts. Please do that. It's free. You have to hear about Fluffy from time to time, but I know you want to, because we need to start a campaign for him. He really would be much better, much smarter, much cuter, and much younger than Joe Biden. So 2024 for president. Anyway, I would love it if you would go over there, sign up for the podcast, subscribe to it, sign up for the YouTube channel, and I'll see you tomorrow.